Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Narayanaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Narayanaya. Shuklambaradharam Vitnam Sachivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyaye Sarvavighnopashantaye Ananta Samsara Samudratara Naukaitabhyam Guru Bhaktitabhyam Vairagya Samradyata Pujanabhyam Namo Namah Shri Guru Padukabhyam Anjananandanam Veeram Janaki Shokanashanam Kapisham Vande Lanka Bhayankaram Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nandagopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Govindaya Namo Namaha Govindaya Namo Namaha Yadangri Pankeru Harenu Lagnam Nibiyaniram Vimadantarangaha Janami Tattvam Nijamatmarupam Janami Tattvam Nijamatmarupam Tam Naumi Narayana Tirthamaryam Tam Naumi Narayana Tirthamaryam. Namaskaram. Welcome to the 49th session of Sri Krishna Leela TarangiNi. As you may all recall, we saw in the last session three major aspects in sequence: that of Mãhãtmyam of Tulasi, Sankachuda's ascent to Goloka, Saligrama Mãhãtmyam, and Tirtha's comparison of Sri Krishna to Sri Lord Nrusimha through Gopi's benedictions. Some of the devotees from Satsangam had asked a few questions relating to the Mantra Raja Pada Stotram. The first question was about why Sri Narasimha Mantra Raja Pada Stotra is so named Mantra Raja. Sri Narasimha is invoked by many mantras that assure us our protection from all kinds of bhayam or fear, as well as afflictions. As you are aware, a mantra is defined as Maranam Trayate iti mantraha. It's defined here as that which on recitation protects the one so reciting it. Among the many mantras associated with Sri Narasimha, the one most revered as Mantra Raja or King of Mantras is deemed the most powerful one. The second question was about its authorship. It was created by the Maha Sarvajna, Sri Athirudra or Sri Maharudra, Bhagavan Shankara himself, and is appropriately housed inside Ishvara Samhita as Mantra Raja Pada Stotra. This hymn is set in Anushtup Chandas, which has 32 aksharas. In this stotra, Sri Rudra makes it clear that Sri Nrusimha is none else than Sri Mahavishnu. The third question was about the timing of the Sri Lakshmi Nrusimha Karavalamba Stotra. Was it when Adishankara Bhagavatpada attempted to calm Padmapada when he became ferocious like Nrusimha to protect his Acharya from a murderous Kapalika? Or was it the slokam composed on another occasion when Shankara Bhagavatpada's physical body was about to be burned? The quick answer is Shankara had already composed the Karavalamba Stotra earlier under a different challenge, namely when his body was about to be consumed by fire. And the same Stotra was re-recited in the current instance, which we talked about in the last session, to calm down his disciple Padmapada, who practically took the Narasimha Swarupa to destroy the Kapalika, who came to sacrifice Sri Adi Sankara. So basically, the first circumstance was when actually his body was about to be consumed or put in fire. And then the second time was when Padmapada's Narasimha Swarupam had to be calmed down. To the same related question, I will now give a very brief account of the first occasion when the Karavalamba Stotra came out from Sri Bhagavatpada. Kumarila Bhatta, one of the greatest upholders of the ritualistic interpretation of the Vedas, was known for his Mimamsa Vartika, which has modern concurrence that Vedas are unauthored or apaurusheya. Kumarila was a contemporary of Acharya Shankara and was ready to enter the fire as an act of expiation for his sins, having argued with his teacher at the banks of Prayagraj. The validity as to why he argued with the teacher is definitely for another day, but suffices to say that even though he was right in arguing with the teacher on the Vedantic subject, the very aspect that he did argue made him feel so bad, so he wanted to do Atmahati by entering the fire. Kumarila could not be persuaded by Sri Adi Shankara, who wanted him to write Vartika on his Bhashyas on Brahma Sutra. Instead, Kumarila requested Sri Adi Shankara for initiation into Brahma Vidya because he told Shankara, anyway, I am going to enter the fire. Nobody can change my mind. Before I do Hati to my body, at least let me have the privilege, since you had come all the way to initiate me, kindly give me the Brahma Vidya before I just have this body consumed by fire. Kumarila Bhatta also added that if Shankara could defeat Mandana Mishra, who was known as Vishwarupa in his Purvashrama, so famous as the great exponent of the ritualistic interpretation of the Mahavedas, it would clear all obstacles in the Vedic mission that Shankara had undertaken, since Mandana would soon become his own disciple, and thus he can get the Vartika or explanatory treatises on Shankara Bhashya completed. He had the forethought that Mandana is not only going to be defeated by Shankara in his Tarkavada, at the same time, Mandana is going to become Shankara's disciple, and he will be the one doing all the Vartikas as desired by Shankara. Shankara then proceeded to Mandana's place called Mahishmati, which is in present-day Bihar, as one of the main cities, as per one account. And there is also a contemporary argument that this Mahishmati that is mentioned in these old scriptures is nothing but the city south of Ujjain and north of Pratishtana in modern-day Madhya Pradesh. Shankara entered Mandana's griham and saw him cleaning the holy feet of Vedavyasa and Jaimini Rishi, whom Mandana was able to invoke and bring right to his griham on account of his penance. Such is the power of Mandana. For the conduct of a ceremony performed by him as ordained by the Shastras. Mandana, who disliked sannyasins, entered into a violent wordy duel with Adi Shankara Bhagavad-pada. The sages who were present, namely Vedavyasa and Jaimini Rishi, knew who Adi Shankara was, that he was Sakshat Dakshinamurti. But they did not mention all that, but they tried to pacify Mandana. And then Mandana welcomed Sri Shankara's challenge, along with the condition that the loser of the debate that's going to happen between Shankara and Mandana would become the disciple of the victor. Simple. Whoever wins the debate is going to be the disciple of the victor. Mandana fixed the next day for the debate and requested Jaimini and Vyasa to be the judges. But they said that Mandana's wife, Ubhaya Bharati, who was universally accepted as an incarnation of Goddess Saraswati, shall be the judge of the debate. The following day, Sri Shankara initiated the debate, announcing his proposition of the unity of all existence. For reasons of time and brevity, I will condense that into a simple paragraph. Brahman, the existence conscious bliss, absolute. In other words, Satchit Ananda is the one ultimate truth. It is Brahman who appears as the entire world owing to ignorance or avidya, just as a shell appears as silver. When the illusion gets dispelled, the silver or shell dissolves into the substratum, namely the shell. Similarly, when ignorance is erased, the whole world dissolves into its substratum Brahman, which is the same as Atman. This is the supreme knowledge, as also moksha or the liberation from births and deaths. And the Upanishads are the authority for this proposition. Mandana, on the contrary, made his proposition emphasizing the tenets of his faith, somewhat similar to what I'm going to say. The non-Vedantic part of the Veda dealing with the effects produced by karma is the real authority. Actions alone, namely karma alone, constitute the steps leading to moksha, and embodied beings have to perform action until the end of their lives. This was Mandana's proposition. Ubhaya Bharati put a garland of flowers on the neck of both the contestants. She declared that the person whose garland withers in the end will be considered defeated. The debate went on for several days. Ubhaya Bharati finally concluded that she accepted the cogent arguments of Shankara and that they had overcome the contentions of Mandana, and gave her final verdict subjecting Mandana to defeat. Mandana, however, still had some questions regarding the aphorisms of Jaimini and their relationship to the absolute truth as propounded by Sri Shankara. When Sri Shankara clarified, Mandana prostrated and said, "You are the very nature of pure consciousness, yet for the sake of ignorant men, you have assumed this human body. You have saved all with the single statement, Tattvamasi, and explained the great soul indicated in the Upanishads, the crest jewel of all the Vedas, as indestructible and one without a second." Praising thus, Mandana surrendered at the feet of Sri Shankara and requested him to accept him as his disciple. In Shankara Vijayam, there is a beautiful statement about this particular incident. Atmamba idameka agra asid, Brahmava idam agra asid ekameva, Sadeva Saumya Idam Agra Asit Ekameva Advitiyam Brahmahacha. Madhaviya Digvijaya became Sri Vidyaranya Tirtha, Sri Sringeri Acharya later in his life. And this particular Vakyam which I'm going to quote is the famous Sri Aurobindo Vakyam. Om Ekameva Advitiyam Brahma Tat Sat Asat Rupam Sat Asat Atitam Tat Vihaya Anyat Kinchit Na Asti Trikala Dhritam Trikala Atitam Va Sarvam Tu Kalu Ekam Brahma Jagatyam Yat Kincha Anuva Magadva Udaram Va Anudaram Va Tat Brahma Eva Jagat Api Brahma Tat Satyam Na Mitya. This is known as Sri Aurobindo Vakyam. Ubay Bharati too praised Sri Sankara, but then added, "O Sankara, you cannot claim complete success over my husband until I, his other half, have been defeated by you. Though you are an embodiment of divinity, which I am definitely able to appreciate, I have a desire to debate with you." And thus she convinced Sri Sankara to accept a debate with her. For 17 days, the protracted debate continued between Ubay Bharati and Sri Adi Shankara. Finding Sri Shankara invincible in Vedic lore, philosophies, and all other Shastras to date, Ubay Bharati struck on the idea and challenged on something known as Kama Shastra, the science and art of love between the sexes, knowing that Sri Shankara was a celibate from boyhood and he was unaware of that. Shankara, in all humility, bent down his head and said, "I accept the challenge, but I would request you to give me 1 month's time to resume the discussions, and I will continue the discussion as you please. Let not this debate deemed complete at this stage." Ubay Bharati knew what's going to happen, so she said, "Okay, go ahead and come back in a month's time." Sri Shankara and his disciples, all masters of yogic powers, traveled along the skies and located a dead body, that of King Amaruka. Sri Shankara discussed with his disciple about the prospect of entering the king's body, who was in his youth, and study the effects of the forces of love by remaining a witness and then re-enter his own body, which would have to be safeguarded by his disciples. Padmapada, but somewhat warned or quoted a precedent of a yogi Matsyendra as a possible pitfall in the method that Adi Shankara has adopted now to actually enter into the dead king's body and leave his body to be protected simply as a body without any Atman. Padmapada knew of the perils but warned the Guru, but still he went along with the Guru because Guru had finally decided. Sri Shankara met his arguments in his own superb manner. In the case of one who has realized even here that the self is without all contacts and is the unrelated, eternally pure spirit, the commandments and prohibitions of the Shastras have no application. All fruits are non-existent for one who has realized the world as a mere appearance. A true knower is free from any sense of good and evil. So even if I indulge in the enjoyment of sex love, no evil will be resulting from it. However, in order that the world may not be misled by the action of a sannyasin like me, I will gain the experience of Kama Shastra through the body of this dead Amaruka, which I am going to enliven by temporarily identifying myself with that body. Shankara then entered the body of Amaruka by yogic powers and lived in the palace, effecting able and just administration of his kingdom. He also gathered the knowledge of Kama Shastra. The ministers of Amaruka are more than the ministers. The queen was a very intelligent and respectable woman, concluded from the remarkably superior gait of the king of late, apprehended that some noble soul had entered the king's body, and with such suspicions, immediately ordered that all uncared for dead bodies in the kingdom, which are yet to be really burned or cremated, shall be burned immediately. The soldiers went around the kingdom all over the place to ensure that no body is left unattended and so that they could burn that. The expiry of the stipulated period was reminded by the disciples who were very anxious. So thereby they came in as musicians to the palace to warn Sankara, who is now in the body of the king. Sri Sankara withdrew his subtle body from the body of the king in that minute. But even as Sri Sankara re-entered his body, which was in the cave, the king's emissaries have already found the body unguarded and have already set it on fire. Sri Sankara immediately recited a hymn addressed to Sri Lakshminarasimhan, which is now known as Lakshminarasimha Karavalambam. Because at the last line of every one of those stanzas, you will see Lakshminarasimham Mamadehi Karavalambam. Mamadehi Karavalambam. By the grace of Narasimha, the fire got extinguished and Sri Sankara emerged from the cave. He traveled to Mandana's house through the sky, was received reverentially by Mandana and Ubay Bharati with ecstasy. Mandana was waiting for his guru and Ubay Bharati was in ecstasy to actually have recommence the debate and finally to be defeated in the debate because Ubay Bharati was sure. But they offered a Simhasanam for him. Ubay Bharati addressed Shankara this way. O Mahaprabhu, you are that Sadashiva who is the Lord of Brahma and all of the Devas and other beings and also the master of all Vidya. You took all the trouble to master the science of even Kama Shastra just to conform to the ways of the world and to accept my challenge. My intention was not to challenge you, but to tell the world that you are complete Dakshinamurti who knows everything. That we have met with defeat at your hands is not at all a matter of shame for either me or my husband Mandana. Just like moon and stars do not go into disrepute when the sun suppresses their light, the law of nature. I must now go to my heavenly abode. Kindly permit me. Sri Adi Shankara replied to her, O Mahadevi, I know you are Sakshat Saraswati, incarnation of Saraswati, and the consort of Brahma, and the sister of Lord Shiva, and you are of the nature of pure consciousness. I shall in future be instituting temples of worship for you, beginning with Rishyashringagiri and other places. And the very first temple that Adi Shankara instituted for Bharati or Saraswati was in Rishyashringagiri of modern day Sringeri. Shankara further said, I beseech you to manifest yourself in all those temples, receiving the adoration of devotees and bestowing boons on them. Agreeing to do so, Bharati disappeared from the physical world. Mandana became a follower of Shankara, having extinguished all worldly desires and ambitions. Shankara imparted to him the Mahavakya, Tattvamasi, comprehensively and gave him the name Sureshwara. Let us now proceed with the opera and listen to the Slokam 149 and Geetam 57, through which Tirtha makes an informed gopi do the benediction of Sri Nandakumara.
Anyapi yuvati kachit, anyapi yuvati kachit, anyapi yuvati kachit, anya drishagiragarim, anyapi yuvati kachit, anya drishagiragarim, Danya Sambodhayanti, Danya Sambodhayanti, Adhasanyayam Pragasadaram, Sambodhayanti Adhasanyayam प्रागसादरं संज्ञायं प्रागसादरं संज्ञायं प्रागसादरम् भूयो भूयो याचे चलिना भूयो भूयो याचे चलिना भूयो भूयो याचे चलिना भूमन् त्वयि मे दास्यो देहि भूमन् त्वयि मे दास्यो देहि भूयो भूयो याचे चलिना भूमन् त्वयि मे दास्यो देहि भूयो भूयो याचे चलिना निमिषार्धमपि तावत् दर्शन विदुरा निन्द्याजितनुरेषा भूमन् तामरसेक्षणं तव पादकमले तनुदां तनुदां मम तनोरतुलां तनुदां तनुदां मम तनोरतुलां भूयो भूयो याचे चलिना भूमन् त्वयि मे दास्यो देहि भूयो भूयो याचे चलिना कान्तं कान्तारमपि तव योगे कमले क्षण मन्ये भूमन् कान्तं कान्तारमपि तव योगे कमले क्षण मन्ये भूमन् कान्तारं मृगमपि तु वियोगे करुण तरुणे मयि तव भवतु कान्तारं कृगमपि तु वियोगे करुण तरुणी मयि तव भवतु भूयो भूयो याचे चलिना भूमन् त्वयि मे दास्यो देहि भूयो भूयो याचे चलिना वरयामि गोपाल वल्लभ अधुना वरयामि गोपाल वल्लभ अधुना त्वरयागम् अखिल गुरु सरसगिरां त्वरयागम् अखिल गुरु सरसगिरां गोपयुवति कथितं इति गुरुकृपया नारायण तीर्थ पाणितो भूयो भूयो याचे चलिना त्वयि मे दास्यो देहि भूयो भूयो याचे चलिना भूमन् त्वयि मे दास्यो
निमिषार्धमपि तव दर्शन vidura nindyahi tanuresha. This body of mine deserves to be condemned if it does not behold you for even half a minute. That's the meaning of that sentence. Then Tirtha says further, Kantam kantaramapi tava yoge kamalekshanam anye kantaram grihamapitu viyoge. If a home in the absence of Krishna is a forest, and a forest becomes in the presence of Krishna, the pleasantest home for me, you need to understand why we are pining for you, Krishna. It is clear here that Tirtha was significantly influenced by sage Valmiki and his eloquent sentiments in Ramayana. I would say sentiments in Ramayana. In two places he talks about that. That if a person has not seen Rama or the place of birth of Rama, his birth is detestable and not worthy at all to have been born. And the city of Ayodhya without Rama's noble presence is nothing but a forest. Whoever does not see Rama, or whoever is not seen by Rama, will be blamed by all men and women in the three worlds. Even one's own self will blame him or her for having not seen Rama or not seen by Rama. Yascha Ramam na pashyettu yamcha Ramo na pashyati nindita sarvalokeshu swatma api enam vigarhate. Valmiki says, Nahi tad bhavita rashtram yatra Ramo na bhupatihi. Tadvanam bhavita rashtram yatra Ramo nivatsyati. If there is a kingdom where the Rama is not the king, it is no longer a kingdom. You know what is the kingdom of Rama? If Rama lives in a forest or any other place, that place shall become the kingdom or shall be the kingdom. Tad vanam bhavita rashtram yatra Ramo nivatsyati. This is the identical sentiment Tirtha borrowed from Valmiki when he mentioned Nimishardham api tava darshana viduran Indyahi tanuresha. That is for describing that if the body cannot even behold you for 1 minute, this is useless body. But just like Valmiki amplified it in the second slokam, Tirtha said, Kantam kantaram api tava yoge, kamalekshanam anye, kantaram griham api tu viyoge. In the absence of Krishna, a home is a forest. In the presence of Krishna, the forest is the home. Does this not mean Kannan Irukkumidam, Vaikuntham, Golokam, Paramapadam, Moksham? I believe that it will be fitting to recap a great incident highlighted in the celebrated work on the life of Sri Ramanujacharya by Alkondavalli Govindacharya, hailing from the ancestry of Sri Ramanuja through the Vadukanambi Parampara. This particular book was published in 1906 under the auspices of His Highness Krishna Rajendra Udayar, Maharaja of Mysore, a staunch devotee of Sri Ramanuja. In the 32nd chapter of that particular book, short excursions and incidents, Ramanuja's visit to Srivilliputtur, Alvar Tirunagari, and finally to Tirukkolur, 2 miles north of Tirunagari, are explained. In the outskirts of the Divya Desam, a young girl came and bowed to Sri Ramanuja. Swami asked her, "From where are you coming?" She replied that she was coming out of Tirukkolur. Upon hearing her say that, Ramanuja said, sharing one person's cloth between 7 people and eating anything that is struggling, everyone tries to enter Tirukkolur. In other words, even though you will be in penury or poverty, people don't want to leave Tirukkolur, they all want to enter Tirukkolur. As mentioned by Nammalvar Thiruvamozhi, Thinnam Ilaman Pugum Oor Tirukkolure. That is the place where Nammalvar has put it in such a lofty place. Everybody wants to go to Tirukkolur, but you are coming back from Tirukkolur. Why? How is it that for you, Tirukkolur has become a place to live? The lady replied, Adiyen, Nayande, Nayande. En Swami, my Lord, that's an old Vaishnava paribhasha, and gave 81 statements as to who she was. The 81 statements are in the form of questions to Sri Ramanuja. They are known as Tirukkolur Ammal Vartaigal. She then said, if I had the same knowledge as those great men and women mentioned in my 81 statements, then I may get lucky to stay in Tirukkolur indefinitely and I will never leave. But I do not possess such a knowledge. Is a very famous saying. What does it matter whether a rabbit drops either in the field or on the side? Similarly, she said, I am nobody. I am like the rabbit's droppings. Whether I am inside Tirukkolur or outside Tirukkolur, it makes no difference because these are my 81 questions. Tell me whether I possess any one of that jnanam. She then added almost as a plea, if you were to visit Tirukkolur again, then all the festivals of the Perumal there, known as Vaithamanidhi Perumal and Madhuragavi Alvar, who hails from the place, should occur grandly going forward. Hearing her wonderful sentiments and in the form of request, Ramanuja was so pleased and visited the lady's home, asked her to cook a meal and give it to him. The sannyas in Ramanuja ate her food. Normally, this would not have happened, especially Ramanuja being a sannyasi. He would not take paranam. But he made this lady cook and he went to her home and ate it and gave her prasadam and divine water as a mark of respect to that woman. This was mentioned by Periya Vanamamalai Jiyar, having heard it from Thiruvaiyaru Pillai. This is the history. The 52nd statement or query, 52 out of the 81 statements which I mentioned, is a statement like this. Ingu illai endreno DadhibãnDanai pola. This question relates to one of the Krishna Avatara Leelas related in Vrindavana Mãhãtmyam from the Patala Kanda of Padma Purana. This is also mentioned in Acharya Hridayam. The story embeds a great Vedanta Rahasyam as Valmiki and Narayana Tirtha opined above. The name DadhibãnDa means one who has a large yogurt pot. Each day, DadhibãnDa would take a large pot of yogurt and go about selling it and come almost empty pot. He always credited his luck to Bhagavan Krishna. In the evening, he would come back with the empty pot and rest outside his home. Even though he did not know Sri Krishna, his good old friend, is not Bhagavan at that point. DadhibãnDa once visited a dead man's house and thought, if we also die, will we leave this world? If I die, but what happens to me? But I cannot live without my Krishna. The death is not good for me because I don't want to leave Krishna. He thought tearfully. At that time, DadhibãnDa happened to come across a Maharishi who was walking by. So he fell at the feet of the Rishi. Swami, kindly bless me. Aha, I blessed you. Get up. Tell me, son, what do you want? I'm narrating it in English, even though my preference would be to explain the DadhibãnDa story in Tamil, which would be really sweet. But anyway, let me make an attempt in English for the benefit of those who may not be conversant with free-flowing Tamil. Swami, bless me. Yes, I blessed you. I only have one wish, Swami. Well, I am listening. That's what the Rishi said. I have to be with my dear Kannan always. Even after I die, I have to be with him. Oh, you are asking for Moksham. How easily you just asked me the route for salvation, which most of us are struggling to understand. You casually asked like that? Then DadhibãnDa said, so what? If you don't know the answer, don't duck the question. You are a great Rishi. You should be knowing the answer. The Rishi went on to explain the Vedantic philosophy, saying, Moksha means Bhagavan, Tiruvadi, Saranagati, Karunyam. At once, DadhibãnDa interrupted him. Swami, too much. You are saying too many things, none of which I understand. I don't understand anything. Can I be with Kannan forever if I attain moksha? That's a simple question I asked you. I don't want to die. But if I die, will I get moksha? Because people say if moksha is there, I'll be with Kannan. And that's why I want moksha, because I want to be with Kannan forever. Maharishi said, certainly, that is Nityam, Paramasatyam. Then he said, okay, then where can I get it? Can you tell me, Rishi, how can I get moksha? Can you give it to me now? Rishi smiled and said, hey, I can't give you my child, Moksham. So now tell me, who is asking for this about moksha business? Because I don't think you are that DadhibãnDa was so ignorant, just a potter, asking such a great question. But he didn't say all that, but he says, who is asking the question? DadhibãnDa said, I need it, and I am the one asking for it. Well, is there anything wrong? No. You are asking me the great question But you don't know, you are keeping Parandama, the great Paramatman, by your very side, and he is your friend. The Supreme Parabrahman is your buddy. Then he said, DadhibãnDa asked him, Sami, who is this fellow? I am humble DadhibãnDa. I am a just vendor of yogurt. And you are saying I am keeping Paramatman by my side? You are either mistaken or don't understand my question. No. I mean Krishna. He is the Paramatman. You don't know about it. Your friend Krishna is the Parabrahman. Rishi now started enjoying his time of conversation with him, and his reward was for such a great Upadesha to the DadhibãnDa. So he felt that he was really getting renunciation by describing to the DadhibãnDa who is Krishna and who is Paramatma and whatnot. Then he gave finally one idea. DadhibãnDa, ask the same person who is your friend you want to be with forever, the same person will give it to you then and there, because he can never say to you since you are his friend. Swami, why didn't you say that in the first place? You are going round and round and round, all kinds of profound words none of which I understood. This you should have said in the first place. You wouldn't have wasted my time. I wouldn't have wasted my time. Why were you beating around the bush? Then he said, well, stop, my son. Your Krishna will not give you that easily. You must remember that. Then DadhibãnDa said, why do you say that? I will take care of that. You told me Krishna has the thing. I will take it from him. You don't know. He is my brother and he is my buddy. He will do anything for me. You don't worry about that. The Rishi went away totally astonished at the answer from the simple cowherd. Within a minute of the whole happening, DadhibãnDa got back to home. Krishna came running to him, breathing very heavily. It was now Krishna's turn. Krishna explained to DadhibãnDa that he was running to escape his mother, Yashoda, who was chasing him all over the place in Gokulam. Krishna also looked at DadhibãnDa's big empty pot and said, oh, you have finished selling everything? Now you have only the empty pot? It's a huge one. Please give me a place. So I'm just going inside. So hide me. He said to him, DadhibãnDa, my mother is angry with me, accusing me that I stole the butter, smeared it all over, broke the pots and fed the cats. All lies from this cowherd clan. I can't handle them. And she's going to hit me at this time. She's coming with a stick in her hand. You don't know her anger now. Kindly hide me inside your pot and tell her that you did not see me because your pot is big enough to hold me in. DadhibãnDa smiled and he said, okay, come in quick. I'll hide you. And he hid Krishna in his pot. When Yashoda came there and asked if he had seen Krishna and if he was hiding anywhere there, DadhibãnDa nonchalantly lied to her. Oh, no, ma, no, mother, he's not here. Believing DadhibãnDa being an innocent guy, Yashoda left. The next second, DadhibãnDa put on a plate on the pot. He closed the pot and sat tight on the plate. He would not allow any even air to go in. Krishna started shouting from inside the pot and say, hey, Yashoda, my mother is gone. Oh, DadhibãnDa, you're sitting on top of the pot. I'm inside. I'm not able to breathe even. Please let me up. You also sat on top of this with your huge body. How do you think I can push you over and come out? DadhibãnDa said, yes, I know that very well, but I have something that I need from you. And if you give me that, I will let you out if you promise that you will give me definitely what I asked for. In truth, DadhibãnDa was profoundly graced or destined at that moment by Parandama, that DadhibãnDa realized that Sri Krishna was the supreme Paramatman. That realization came in a split second to that simple yogurt vendor. So he told Krishna, hey Krishna, only if you promise to give me moksha, I will let you out. What? Come again? You want moksha? Yes, there was a short argument between DadhibãnDa and Krishna. Not satisfied, DadhibãnDa also asked for moksha for his part as well. And Krishna acquiesced for that also. He said, not only moksha for me, moksha for my part as well, because that was the one holding you inside, protecting you from Yashoda. Krishna said, okay, you get moksha, your part gets moksha. Leave it to me. No one can say upon whom the Lord's grace would fall. including the pot. It's a clay pot. In the previous or 51st Vartai of the same lady, one saw Bhagavan's grace falling on Prahlada. That was the 51st Vartai or 51st statement. Prahlada, who told that Bhagavan was everywhere, so Prahlada told his father, Brahman is everywhere. In this Vartai, it is seen that Bhagavan gave moksha not only to DadhibãnDa, but also to the pot. And here, see the fun. There Prahlada said, pointed a stumpam and said, this is where Brahman is there if you want to hit. Whereas in this place, DadhibãnDa told a lie. Even though he knew where he was, he told the mother a lie and said he is not here. Even for that, he got moksha. So Tirukodu Rammal is asking, in one case, one fellow said, you are everywhere, and you gave him moksha. In the other case, DadhibãnDa, in the 52nd statement, he said you are not there and lied to his mother, but still you gave him moksha. That's why her varta is, did I say a lie? That he was not present nearby for his sake, like DadhibãnDa. So am I that great? So one of the 81 statements is, am I that great like DadhibãnDa who lied to Yashoda? Let us now listen to a gopi complaining to another gopi about Krishna's harshness in the form of admonishment or advice to them to return to their homes. Tirtha Slokam 150 and Geetam 58, use of words reminding Srimad Bhagavatam. We are going to just see that now.
Murari Vachana Vyagraya Murari Vachana Vyagra Valavi Kapi Tatpara Murari Vachana Vyagra Valavi Kapi Tatpara Valavi Kapi Tatpara Sambodhayitva Swassakim iti gayati sadara Sambodhayitva Swassakim iti gayati sadara Gayati sadaram Vadakim Karatwadi Sagihe Vadakim Karatwadi Sagihe Vadakim Karatwadi Sagihe Vadakim Karatwadi Kokila Sugavadi Vadakim Karatwadi Kokila Sugavadi Vadakim Karatwadi Bhagavana Bhuvi-bari Bhargavatansa Vadati Kimapi Vakram Tayalam Sariye Vadakim Karatwadi Grihapati Dhanadisho Mamaraga Grigapari Triyitaka Rangam Keyasagi Maganiya Murali Karala Ita Maganiya முரளீதர கீத மன்றேண மோதித ஆதிரஜ யதிகிரேய சங்கோகிர பதகிம் கரவாணி சகியேவர பதகிம் கரவாணி நிமிஷமதி யுக சகஸ்ர சமதயா நீதம் மயாதி மகாசாயம் சகி அமித கிருபாநிதி அயமீதி சகச aduna gadaniga tyajati kadamayo vadakim karavani sagiyeva vadakim karavani tapasa kila magada bhuvikalpa daro saki upadabhya kati karitadam sakiye sapala nitim anusarati seyaniti Vivrutam Shivanarayana Tedam Sagi Vadakim Karavani Sagi Vadakim Karavani Sagi Vadakim Karavani.
That is one of the songs that sets the beautiful stage for Rasa Leela, and many poets and sages have said similar expressions with their own imagination. It is all based on Sukabrahmam's Srimad Bhagavatam. Nimishamapi yuga sahasra samataya neetam mayadina mahasayam saki. We will soon be seeing Sukabrahmam's explanation of how the gopis felt Krishna's absence even for a fraction of a second when he disappears in the midst of Rasa Leela. Because as per Narayana Tirtha, the gopi says, I spend every minute of the day till nightfall as if each one of those minute or second were 1,000 eons, and I have now come here at once in the belief that he is going to be the source of limitless grace to me. After all this, how can he now abandon me? For that she uses this expression. The very famous expression that Sukabrahmam said is, Atati Adbhavan Annikanam Truti Yugayate Tvam Apashyatam Kutila Kuntalam Shimukam Chate Jada Udikshatam Pakshma Krudrisham. In the Dasamaskandam, chapter 31, Sloka 15, Atati Yadbhavan Annikananam Triti Yugayate Tvam Apashyatam Kutila Kuntalam Shimukam Chate Jada Udikshatam Pakshma Krudrisham. Tirtha felt it fit to use that expression right here, setting the stage. Shuka said Atati means to travel. Yat is when, Bhavan, you, Anni is during the daytime, Kananam to the forest, Truti, Truti is about 1 by 1700th of a second. In one place, they say that. In the other place, Truti is explained as 1 by 75th of a second. In any case, it's a fraction of a second. Yugayate, meaning it becomes an entire millennium. Twam apashyatam, without seeing you. Every syllable in that particular slokam is remarkable. We will definitely take that slokam again when we do the Rasa Leela for explanation. We often search for etymological and bibliographical confirmation of rare words, since Sanskrit is one of the, if not the rarest language, repeatedly referred to as Deva Bhasha, divine language. Truti, as I said, so many versions are there, but one version which is documented is 1/75th of a second. Where do we get such an explanation? You may remember that we saw earlier Krishna Leela, Tavat Etya Atmabhuhu Atmamanena Truti Anehasa Purovati A Abdam Kridantam Dadrishe Sakalam Harim. This is in the Dashamaskandam in the 13th chapter. When Brahma tries to hide everybody, Sukha makes a mention about this in the 40th slokam. Tavat etya atmabhuhu atmamanena truti anehasa, truti anehasa. When Brahma returned after a split second of a time had passed according to his own measurement, he saw that although by human measurement a complete year had passed, for Brahma it was a truti. Lord Krishna, after all that time, was engaged just as before in playing with the boys and calves who were with his expansions. This was Sukha's usage at the very same time frame, truti anehasa, by a moment's time. Of course, after a closer search, there is some reference found. Truti refers to 75th of a second, according to Brihat Samhita in chapter 2, an encyclopedic work written by Varahamihira in the 6th century, mainly focusing on the science of ancient Indian astronomy and astrology combined, known as Jyotisha. Accordingly, we shall now proceed to give a brief description of the qualifications of a Jyotishaka. This is the way it is written there in that Brihat Samhita. Jyotisha is one who is well versed in Samhita, astronomy, and horoscopy. He must have a correct knowledge of Yuga, Varsha, Ayana, Rutu, Masa, Paksha, Ahoratra, Yama, Muhurta, Nadi, Vinadi, Nadi again, Prana, Truti being the final thing. What is the meaning of all these words which I now gave? Yuga is 4,320,000 years. Varsha is 1 solar year. Ayana is 6 solar months. Rutu is 2 solar months. Masa is 1 solar month. Paksha is 15 solar days. Ahoratra is 1 solar day. Yama is 1/8 of a solar day. Muhurta is 1/30th of a solar day. Nadi is 1/60th of a solar day or 24 minutes. Vinadi is 1/60th of a nadi or 24 seconds. Prana makes 4 seconds. Truti is 1/75th of a second. Before we go to the next section of the opera for more benedictions and conclusion of Tarangam 6, let us listen to a song from another Kavi, Uttagadu Venkata Kavi, who gave beautiful sentiments in many songs, similar sentiments of what I narrated now, for very many occasions around Krishna. One song stands out. This song is somewhat unique when a gopi tells her friend about how the very thought of Krishna is everything she ever needed and nothing else matters in this birth or births to follow, just like what I mentioned in the whole of the session, compacted into one song. Let us listen to that song.
மன்னனை நாடிடுதே கண்கள் கண்ணனை தேடிடுதே மனதறிந்தோ அல்லதறியாமலோ என் மன்னனை நாடிடுதே கண்கள் கண்ணனை தேடிடுதே மனதறிந்தோ மன்னனை நாடிடுதே. கண்கள் கண்ணனை தேடிடுதே. இனமறியாவது எண்ணமேலோகி. இனமறியாவது எண்ணமேலோகி. இன்பமயமாகுதே. இதை நினைந்தோறும் வனமலரோ மயிலோ இருமகர குழையோ நுதலோ குழலோ பரவிடும் புனநதியோ துறையோ வனமோ பசும் கணமோ இடை நடமோ இசையோ இதில் மனதிலே நினைத்தாலும் மற்றெதுவும் சுகம் காணுமோ. மாதவ முனிவரும் காடறிய எழிலை வடமதுரை துறை கணம் நாடிடும் போதருள் கருணை தடங்கடலை புகலிடம் காணுமே. மனம் புகழறியதான பொங்குமானந்த புனலாடுமே. இதயம் புகழ் பாடுமே. கலந்தவர சுகங்களையும் அருந்த மனதறிந்தோ அல்லதறியாமலோ என் மன்னனை நாடிடுதே. கண்கள் கண்ணனை தேடிடுதே. எண்ணும் சுகம் ஒன்றே போதும் கண்ணனை. எண்ணும் சுகம் ஒன்றே போதும். இதற்கு ஈடில்லையே எந்த போதும். அருள் இருந்தால் கண்ணால் காண்பதொன்றே போதும். அவன் அருள் இருந்தால் கண்ணால் காண்பதொன்றே போதும். இதை காட்டிலும் வேறில்லை இன்பம் எப்போதும். மண்ணினில் நான் செய்த மாதவம் ஏதும். மண்ணினில் நான் செய்த மாதவம் ஏதும் வந்துதானாகும். கைமேல் பலன் தந்து தானாகும். வனமலரோ மயிலோ இருமகர குழையோ நுதலோ குழலோ பரவிடும் புனநதியோ துறையோ வனமோ பசும் கணமோ இடை நடமோ இசையோ இதில் மனதிலே நினைத்தாலும் மற்றெதுவும் சுகம் காணுமோ. மாதவ முனிவரும் காடறிய எழிலை வடமதுரை துறை கணம் நாடிடும் போதருள் கருணை தடங்கடலை புகலிடம் காணுமே. மனம் புகழறியதான பொங்குமானந்த புனலாடுமே. இதயம் புகழ் பாடுமே. கலந்தவர சுகங்களையும் அருந்த மனதறிந்தோ அல்லதறியாமலோ என் மன்னனை நாடிடுதே. கண்கள் கண்ணனை தேடிடுதே. ஹே ஹே ஹே.
As you may have guessed, that song was from Subhapriya Srivatsan. In the next session, which will be the last one on Tarangam 6, we will see the last Geetam, the Geetam number 59, Vanabhuvi Govindam Iha Viharantam Vallava Yuvati Jana Bhaswantam, wherein the gopis describe Krishna as the very nature itself, comparing him to Madhu or honey, where Tirtha draws parallels with Brihadaranyaka Upanishad through the song.
Narayana 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 Hare Krishna குருவாயூரப்பா